We are Goldstein in tonight. That's right, Aquarian Anarchy. We got Hotep Goldstein in the house. Let's get it.
I love Goldstein.
So our quote for tonight is, "Government is the great fiction through which everybody endeavors to live at the expense of everybody else," from Frederick Bastiat, a classic, an absolute classic from The Law. And with that, we welcome, I don't know if I should call him, so I was all ready to call him that unreal person of color that she was talking about, but he changed his name, so I can't call him that. So now I guess I'm going to have to call you Jason Aldean's ghostwriter. Hotep Goldstein, welcome into the building. Why did you write that racist pro-lynching song?
Man, you know, I felt him to my core. You know what I mean? Felt him to my core. They want to call it a good old boys song, like good old boys got the market cornered on whooping motherfuckers' asses. Nah, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case.
But as can be proven in where I grew up, where lots of good old boys got that shit knocked out of them.
Right,
for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So let's get into that one just right off rip. Let's just go. Let's just dive right in and talk about. So this song has been out since May, but apparently all of a sudden now it's stirring up a lot of controversy, and you got Shannon Watts out there, you know, doing her little throw everything under the bus. In spite of all the stuff that went down, why he wrote the song in the first place and everything, and you can have your disagreements about some of the stuff in there, but I think the message there is like, there's some things that in a small town, if you don't know the people and you just come in and start doing the kind of shit that happens in some of these big cities, people don't stand for that for very long. Because they know each other and they know what's good and what's not, and they don't play around.
Yeah, man. Look, Aldean's song right there, like I said, it resonated with me because there's just too much hanky shit going on. There's too much bullshit, too much cheating in the meeting, man. And motherfuckers are feeling that way. So he spoke to that. And if you can like it, you can not like it. But all this trying to cancel him over it shit, that's out of pocket. That's out of pocket. You know what I mean?
It's just another form of censorship.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And you can't silence that voice right there, because if you try and silence that voice right there, what you do is you push it towards the fringe, and out there are people you don't necessarily want to deal with in society. You know what I mean? So you want to give some type of outlet to that frustration, and this is a good way to do it. You know, it's through this song. Now, what it seems like to me on some level, though, is like you said, the song's been out for a couple months now. So what it seems like to me is Mr. Aldean pissed somebody off. Maybe he didn't want to do a concert date somewhere, or you know. Maybe he didn't want to go to certain parties with certain people. Who knows? But that's what it seems like to me. Let's rehash some shit that's already been on the airwaves for a couple months. Blow it up far bigger than it should be. You know, put our apparatchiks on the case, like that broad you said. What's her name again?
Shannon Watts. She's like the anti-gun. She's been, you know, with all the you know, school shootings and everything like that. Every time there's something like that, she's out there. She's the biggest gun control advocate spokesperson that they have out there.
Right. Yeah.
She Mom's Demand.
Yeah, she's Mom's Demand. What is it? I don't even remember what it is, but it's like Mom's Demand gun control. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But she basically took, if you listen to the song, and I'm not necessarily saying I agree with everything in the song, because there's some issues I have with some of the different things, you know, worshiping things in the sky, you know, draperies that people fly in the sky and all that kind of stuff that people sometimes take a little bit too far. But I would not go burn a flag in a small town where I know the people in there might do some crazy shit if you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's not wrong in that regard. But what she conflated was, damn, Nicco. What she conflated was the stuff that where people were like burning cities down, burning down Minneapolis, burning down Kenosha, Wisconsin, all this shit that was going on in the summer of love in 2020. That kind of stuff is not going to go down in a small town because the people know each other. And what was really wild about that whole stuff is, you know how many people in these Black Lives Matter protests they were like destroying black people's businesses?
Yeah, there was
like far too many.
They didn't go do that at the precinct where the cops came from that did the stuff. No, they went to the Foot Locker, the Wendy's, and the mom and pops.
They went to all the areas that they know they wouldn't get taxed in. So if I can burn down a mom and pop shop, I don't even give a fuck who's here. You know, it's a building, and I'm assuming the businesses are all bad, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, just added to the game of their ignorance. If that's
it's a bully mentality that takes over, or when that type of shit goes down. I mean, you had the summer of love, like you said, where the left was wilding out. You know, then you got recently the summer of the boycott, you know what I mean, or the winter of the boycott, where the right was wilding out in the same fashion. They wasn't burning nothing down physically, but they were trying to burn shit down financially.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're hitting shit that don't hit back. Right. So you get this bully mentality, that this pack mentality that I saw a lot of growing up, saw a lot of through my incarceration. And it doesn't jive well with me. You know what I mean? If you're going to hit something, go hit something that deserves to be hit. You know, don't just go around willy nilly, because then you start to look like an op to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and we've all seen this. I mean, you know, at least, you know, I've been involved with, you know, several, let's call them get-togethers, where there were people I didn't know there. And you always know who the Fed is every time, because it's the guy out there going, let's just throw rocks. Let's go get a brick. Let's shoot him, whatever the fuck. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't look like anybody else, and nobody else knows him, you know?
But somehow he got the address and the time of when the get together was going to start.
And when the bricks would be delivered.
That too.
For sure.
Well, so you said something about, you know, hitting something that doesn't hit back. And that I mean, I think that's really the issue here, is that there's a whole lot of people who are all too willing, all too happy to have their frustration and their anger directed at something. And it's a target that has been pre-selected, and that target is typically something that either can absorb it and isn't going to really feel it that much, or that target is helpless to resist and to fight back in a lot of cases. And so, you know, back to the thing about the flag. So like he talks about the thing in the flag. Marcus and I you're on a show called Aquarian Anarchy, so I hope it's obvious to everyone. We're anarchists. So we don't worship, you know, decoy draperies or regular draperies. We don't.
My flag is
flags
black.
Of the true kind or the false kind. But what a lot of people miss is, if you just go and start lighting a flag on fire and you don't try to actually have a conversation with people about, like, hey, look, I get it, like being proud of like what this country is and being proud of like the freedom that we think we have and all that good stuff. Because I like to stir the pot on like the 4th of July. I'm like, hey, what are we celebrating again? Treason. That's right. So anyway, it's fun to stir the pot, but you got to be able to do it in a way that, you know, if you're in close quarters, that you can talk your way through what you're trying to get across, and not just go piss on somebody's ceremony and be like, yeah, fuck your flag, and throw it on the ground and start lighting it on fire at like a military funeral or something like that. You could get the shit beat out of you. You might even die.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's okay to with you and a cousin, you and an uncle, you and a good friend, be like, hey man, look, I just want to tell you, like, I'm not certain that everything that we're fighting for out there is freedom. Some of it might be some bankers and some big money interests out there. You know, like we might keep fighting for something that we don't think we're fighting for. There's a way to have that conversation, and there's a way to like really open yourself to get the shit beat out of you. But if you do it, like you said, against a target that won't punch back, then you can do all this stuff. And hell, they might even like throw parades for you. They might give you endorsements. They might find a way to like make your cause the cause celeb of the day.
For sure. And it really what it boils down to is people acting out like that. They're doing it for themselves. They ain't doing it for no real cause. They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it so they feel better about some shit because they're angry, because they're emotionally involved, probably too much so. And so they're out there burning shit and breaking shit just to release all that bullshit off their own shoulders. It's for them. It ain't really for anything else. Because I mean, even if you look at the Boston Tea Party, all right, on the outside looking in, that might just seem like some type of radical protest. We're throwing this shit in the harbor and all that,
tantrum or something. Yeah,
right. But once you really start researching that the history of it, how it all went down, and what it was really for,
who the East India Tea Company was,
right?
Yeah,
you find out that there was a very well thought out and well planned maneuver there, whereby which they could advance something in the long run. They were thinking long game. So what looked like a chaotic situation on its face was really something that was of substance. And a lot of these fucking protests and a lot of these goddamn boycotts, they're not of substance. They're not thought out on any level. They're just people acting out, trying to get some shit off their chest. And when you move like that, 9 times out of 10, you finna move in the wrong direction. You finna do something stupid. You finna do something wrong.
For sure. Yeah, and the difference is massive too. Just as a side note, because I actually did an article on the Boston Tea Party and whatnot when I worked for somebody running for president. But do you know who actually planned the Boston Tea Party?
Not from your perspective, no.
The reality is that a guy he was a doctor. His name is Thomas Young, and he was really good friends with Thomas Paine. And he was the one who inspired a lot of people like to attribute Samuel Adams to the planning and execution of the Boston Tea Party. But it was actually a man named Thomas Young who was also a member of the Green Mountain Boys with from Vermont with Ethan Allen and all of them. But he was very much like what you're talking about. He was a planner. And for him, it was absolutely, like you said, an event planned to be staged. They didn't just decide, oh, we're going to put some Indian outfits on. No, they had purpose and meaning. Not only were they trying to hide themselves, but they were trying to represent themselves as Americans. Everything had a purpose and everything had a point. But you're right. These protests that we see largely on the TV, and everybody knows the revolution will not be televised. Everything that we see on the TV is planned to do nothing but cause chaos, because that's in the interest of the people that are in power to keep
profit from chaos. Yeah.
Right, so that they can profit from chaos and keep us under lock.
Right, exactly. This is why I'm always so skeptical of shit that just goes viral, so to speak. I'm always skeptical of it. I don't give a fuck if it's in my interest, if it lines up with my worldview or not. If it's going viral, I'm always skeptical of it because there's always some type of motivation behind it. And until I can suss what that is to my own satisfaction, then I really just, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a cynic though. You know what I mean?
You gotta be so stupid ass world. Like you always have to play things down.
For sure.
Yeah. So the one of the things recently that really got my attention, you speaking to that thing about like being skeptical, even if it is in your interest or adjacent to your interest or anything like that, is there was this run of, Tucker Carlson interviewing presidential candidates, and you kind of exposed how he was going at Nikki Haley and talking about like the Nord Stream pipeline and all that stuff. And look, we're probably going to get our channel banned anyway at some point in the not too distant future. So, like, I mean, let it fly. Let's go.
Rumble, rumble.
You don't put up with like official narratives. Like, you don't, like, I put it in the description. Like, your bullshit filter is on like 1 million. You seem to be like really attuned to that sort of stuff. What is it? What in your either upbringing or in maybe your life experience put you on that game where you're like, wait a second, I got to look at everything sideways now because there's a lot of bullshit out there floating around.
Shit. I guess what really, I mean, I've always been, even from a young ass kid, I've always been on some you know what I mean? I got to see for myself type shit. Mm-hmm. But what really put me on that tip as far as societal concerns, anyone who knows, I did a substantial amount of time incarcerated. And about four or 5 years before I got out, that event happened in Dallas where dude was shooting shit up. Remember that? The Dallas shooter?
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this shit on the news. Now, mind you, you get a very, very filtered version of the news and world events while you locked up. We only had 13 channels. All of them were some bullshit channel in hindsight. But I fucked with Fox back then. Then we get ABC, NBC, and CBS. So that's where your news is coming from. And
no Lifetime? Did you get you some Lifetime in there? Find out about how men suck and how women are going to take over the world?
Not at all. Not at all. They give you a bunch of garbage in there. But but I wouldn't be surprised if they started doing that shit. You know what I mean?
Right, for sure.
So, but yeah, I'm watching this shit on the news, man, and I had such an emotional response to it that I actually, they had a class on the yard called Men in Recovery. And I had been in recovery for some time for alcoholism and drug abuse. I had already been sober for some time. And the lady who taught that class, God bless her, she had been trying to get me in there because she felt I needed it, but not necessarily to remain sober. But I had been like, nah, I'm good, because I didn't trust any type of shit where the government was trying to pick at my brain. And this is a state facility, and they're trying to get you to think differently with all these classes, critical thinking, and all this other shit, right? I was always skeptical of their brand of that. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do it. But she was always so goddamn cool. And in hindsight, she was hella red pilled. You know what I mean? And I was fairly conservative in a lot of my views, but I also held a lot of left-leaning views as well, you know?
Same.
Right. So watching this coverage, here I'm thinking, sitting there on the yard, that there's a full assault on black folks now from the police because of the way the news was billing it. And it fucked with me. It fucked with me so much that I confided in this lady. Just in some side note shit, we're sitting there talking, me and her. I confided in her that, because I'm getting out soon, I got a lot of anxiety and shit. I'm like, I don't want to end up like this dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's going on out there? What the fuck is going on out there? Because the way I'm seeing it build on the news, I'm getting out to a war zone. You know what I mean? Which at the time, I was all for. Fuck it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I was like, I want to be successful at life. I want to fucking get out there and I want to be successful. I don't want to end up back in here. I don't want to end up dead. So what the fuck? You know what I mean? And she sat me down and was like, listen, what you're seeing ain't the case. And she started giving me small bits of literature that she could, based on the rules of the facility and shit. You know what I mean? She would let me read shit, and then I would be like, damn, she introduced me to motherfuckers like Jordan Peterson and shit. And it just started kind of rewiring my thinking to some degree. and I just started seeing, yo, this narrative is so goddamn false that it had me goddamn wanting to get out, shoot up the town. There's no way I can allow that shit to happen to my thinking anymore based on what the news is serving me. You know what I mean?
The propaganda.
Right. And so that's when I was like, nah, everything has to get checked the fuck out. I don't care, like I said, if it lines up with me. I don't care if it don't. Everything has to get checked out. So and even like I said, she introduced me to Jordan Peterson, and now even he's on my shit list.
That's right.
Because as much as he helped me through some shit, and as much as I used to admire him to some degree, as time went on, because I don't respect you to that motherfucking level, I started to see cracks. And everybody has cracks and inconsistencies, but when those cracks and inconsistencies seem like they're guided for a reason, I can no longer fuck with you.
So you're saying that this lady helped you break out of your super suspicious shell, if you will. Like,
I actually think he's saying that she kicked him into it.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
she kicked
it into drive.
But like, if you going back, you were saying that you sat down, you saw the news, and you were like, huh, that shit kind of got me fucked up and weirded out. I'm ready to like go on a rampage or somebody try and like hunt me down. But she was the one who sat down and had a conversation with you. It's not suspicion, but she opened your eyes.
Right.
Suspicious already being in there. She was the one, the catalyst who helped you open your eyes and alleviate what you were initially panicking about, and then some.
Yeah, yeah. In that respect, yes.
Yeah.
She did do that. And like she even put me up on shit about, she put me up on some of the shit that they were doing with vaccines and shit back in 2014. You know what I mean? So then when the COVID shit came along, I was sitting there saying to myself, damn, baby was right. She was right. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
Yo, if I tell you about something, I sent the Hotep Jesus in March of 2019. All right, so March of 2019. This is almost a whole year before the 19 dropped, right?
Right.
It was it's a bill or a House resolution put forth by sponsored by none other than Adam Schiff. All right,
piece of shit.
Right.
So that starts you off right there. You already know. It was, I got to pull it up. I'll send it to you later, but it's basically like a House resolution on acknowledging and recognizing the value and importance of vaccines. This is a year before that shit dropped. They were trying to push that stuff through. They were trying to start pushing that. It's like, oh, here we go. Because my wife and I were already on that. Like, it was. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let me just say, like, I got 3 kids, and they hadn't had stuff put in them in a while. Put it that way. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. To kind of return to what you were saying, it reminded me of a quote. I actually posted it today, but it's one of the older quotes that I have. It's actually from Aristotle, and he said, and this is what your attitude reminds me of. He said, "Be a free thinker and don't accept everything you hear as truth. Be critical and evaluate what you believe." You know, to me, that's common sense. You know, to me, you have to look at everything. And yes, of course, if let's say my wife brings me some information and says, hey, you know, here's this information, and I will definitely weigh that heavier than like some stranger that brought me the information if I can't prove it in other ways. And one would think that, you know, I'm an anarchist, so I don't believe that government has any good intentions, but I think some people in government have some good intentions. So they may have the best of intentions on what their information is, and they may, you know, lots of people in lab coats actually know what medicine is, but just because you put somebody in a lab coat doesn't mean they know about medicine. So,
right.
So again, to me, that's common sense. To me, we should be, questioning everything. Voltairine de Cleyre, who's a famous anarchist, said that, an anarchist would change their opinion if something better came along. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the way it should be. We should be thinking, we should be changing, we should be ready for whatever information that we put together that comes. Mm-hmm. And I think that stuff like what you're talking about, that kind of understanding and questioning nature, is exactly what the state and any of these authorities, whether it's a bank, a multinational corporation, or the state itself, that's what they don't want us to do. So
not at all.
Is there some kind of, like, beyond the influence of you had talked about Jordan Peterson, is there anyone right now that is really influencing you, and you're finding that it's feeding that want for knowledge?
Oh yeah, shit. I got quite a few people that influence me. They inspire me. You know what I mean? A lot of the cats from Hotep Nation, this show.
Thank you.
Let me see. We got, I don't know if y'all heard of him, Donnie Darko. I fuck with him tough. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. AnpuAzrael. I fuck with her real tough.
I don't think I know that one name.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, she's on Twitter. I listen to her posts. I see what she be posting and shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I try and keep my influences kind of centralized to people who I feel haven't been bought and paid for yet. Mm. Because even if you are bought and paid for, you may espouse some shit that I agree with 100%. But that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, because you work for somebody, you know? Mm-hmm. And the minute their agenda or perspective changes, you have to adapt to that, because you've been bought and paid for, you know?
Right.
So this is, like I said, again, this is why I stopped really fucking with Jordan Peterson. The day that he signed to Daily Wire, his first submission under that banner, I was like, yeah, this nigga tripping, because he was on some radical shit. And it was instant. It was like, I ain't never heard you talk like this in none of your lectures, none of your writings. You ain't never sounded like this. Yeah. So from off the rip, you just on some other shit now. So now you're a suspect, you know? And as the days went by and the releases came, I was like, yeah, he's bought and paid for. You know what I mean? And
I wonder, well, he's kind of I think if you look back and you go back far enough, even in like 12 Rules for Life and some of his other stuff, and the whole thing that put him on the stage, which was like him not saying the pronouns or whatever in Canada, it is like there was a thread of narcissism that ran in him that you could sense early on, that as he grew in popularity, started to get stronger and stronger and got fed more and more. And I think once he had that backing, that like now you're not on your own, you've got this force behind you. Yeah. That's why you saw the mask come off, so to speak, with him. Is that now his narcissism can be fully fed, because he's not worried about losing everything anymore. He didn't have to be careful anymore.
Yeah. And a motherfucker like that, who commands as much attention as he is, as charismatic as he is, as well read as he is, you become, when you flip the script, to me, you can go from, damn, this dude is really on point, to, damn, this dude is public enemy number one.
Right.
Because you're dangerous, because of the fucking shit that you hold, you know? Yeah. So it's like, I'm always watching, always waiting. And that goes for everybody, because there's a way of life that we all agree on. There's a worldview that we can all somewhat agree on at a fundamental level. And you have to stick to that in order to have my support. The minute you start veering away from that, I start wondering why, because I am not lost on the fact that there are entities in this world that seek to destroy. and that is their whole motivation. And either you're rocking with that shit or you're not. There's no middle ground, you know?
For sure.
So even if you sound like you're on the level, you could still be seeking to destroy.
Amen.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what it reminded me of when you were talking about Jordan Peterson is the original conversation we were having about Jason Aldean, and it makes me wonder if maybe what happened was they came to Jason, which my guess is he's been. To me, if you have that level of, of stardom, if you will, probably already took a bag or two. But my guess is they say, okay, we need you to maybe it was the rainbow. Maybe you need to do the rainbow stuff. And he was like, I saw Target and Budweiser. I'm good.
That's never happening again. Yeah.
Right. So,
well, look, check this out, though. I mean, if you want a kufi on tight moment, I mean, listen, facts of the matter is the conservative movement, or what's known as the popular version of the conservative movement in this country, they're on the team of motherfuckers who want to destroy. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
They're just as far gone on that road as the left is. So for all we know, somebody came to Jason Aldean and paid him the bag to say, hey, make this song, inflame passion, do all this shit, because we need the right at a certain level to match that level of the left, so that way we can come in behind all that and with the cleanup crew. You know what I mean?
No, that's why I fuck with Goldstein, because this is like other people wouldn't talk about it that way. Like, no, this isn't like he declined. Like Hotep Dutch said, he declined the invitation to the all-white party. It's like, no, like this might have been his invitation. Like, hey, look, man, we need you to write this song.
Right.
We need you to put this video together. We'll have a whole crew. We'll get you all the clips you need. We'll put the video together, help you put it all, we'll get you the permit to shoot in front of the White House or what, who knows, man?
Because I mean, look, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself a couple things. Like I said, sometimes you do need to give voice to that aggression and that anger as somewhat of a release valve.
Sure.
So you got to kind of see what he does with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, if you're sitting there doubling down on this shit, then I got to wonder, was this your aim? Was this what you were paid to do? Because if you really think about it, what constructive shit can actually come from that song?
That's a good point.
It seems
he wasn't just there, Jabari. It was his concert that they shot up in Vegas like that.
Right. Jabari brought that up today.
It's like, that was his concert.
But Jabari brought that up to me today. I didn't even know that during HJ's stream, the Griff Report, tune in. He brought that up to me today. I wasn't even aware of that shit. Like, yo, I goddamn. So now I'm like, you know what I mean? It's one of them things where you just got to watch all the angles, bro.
And then it makes you wonder, like, so then was it a platform to like let Shannon Watts just jump on and bring her minions to the thing where that now they can, it can be the, it's just, sometimes it doesn't have to necessarily be like a big switch that's getting flipped. Sometimes it's just one in a series of many switches being flipped.
Yeah. Domino.
That help to get the narrative pushed a little bit further down. Biden's coming up on his, the last year of this term. If he may not get elected again. So like they may try to make a push while they can to get, a few little laws passed here and there to crank down on some of the gun stuff. But so you talked about Jordan Peterson and how sometimes you have these people that they're more dangerous because they command an audience of people who fancy themselves red-pilled, right? So that's the danger. It's like you think you aren't in the Matrix, but actually what they did was they got an Agent Smith to look just like your hero so that now you stay deeper in the Matrix.
Exactly.
And you keep doing the Matrix's work for it. So let's talk about, because I touched on this earlier, but I want to go into Tucker, and then I want to kind of take you through a handful of like very prominent presidential candidates to give your take, because I think we are seeing a lot of people in our circles and some of the circles adjacent to ours that are falling for some shiny objects right now. And I want to get your take on this, because I think you share a sentiment that Marcus, Nicco, and I kind of share on a lot of these folks. But Tucker Carlson specifically, I've always described as like, he's the kind of guy who, and there are tons of them, and they're on the left and they're on the right, and they're in the libertarian movement and everywhere else. They will take you 75% of the way to where you almost forgive all the 25% bullshit, because you like so much the 75% that you agree with.
Right.
What do you see with like a guy like Tucker Carlson that makes you say, okay, no, this is on purpose?
Because in a lot of ways, his handshake don't match his smile. You know what I mean? Remember, right before Fox canned him, you know, he had that video that he put out, or that they put out on Twitter, where he was at that little meeting and he said what he said, and a lot of people pointed to that as being the reason why.
Right.
He's sitting up there talking about higher powers and these big revelations and shit. Right. But his target audience are Christians.
Yeah, he was talking about praying and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I have never heard that man talk about praying before.
Exactly. His target audience are Christian conservatives in this country. That's just the facts. His target audience is that. But what I do know a lot of times is when you're a snake, you know what I mean? You will adopt a lot of the wording, you know, a lot of the lexicon of the people who you're trying to convince some shit of. And now all of a sudden he's up on this stage having a come to Jesus moment, but without actually mentioning Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's right.
And I'm not a Christian. I got mad respect for Christians. I got mad respect for everybody who follows a higher path like that. But if that's your target audience and you sitting up there saying all this, meanwhile, you sitting there in that same video, you can see the red string on his wrist, little red string, which means that he's practicing the cabal, or could potentially be practicing the cabal, which is the exact antithesis to everything Christians stand for. You see what I'm saying? It seems to me like you sitting up there bullshitting, you're bull jiving, you're faking the funk. Now I gotta ask why at that point. So then I start watching your moves at that point, because that's not enough to convict a man of some bullshit, right? Everybody has their own way, everybody has their own path, everybody has their own enlightenment. But when you start looking like a con man, now I gotta see if you are. And as the days went by and more information started to come out about his firing and what was behind it, and then when you start coupling that with the timing of everything, because it was around that same time that James O'Keefe was going through his shit, you know what I mean? And it seemed like a whole lot of these conservatives, and it was mostly focused on conservatives, they were all breaking ranks with what would be considered the old guard. You know what I mean? And now they're trying to establish this new fervor amongst the base, this new brand new, I guess you could, I call it the Conservative Inc. X division. That's what I call it. You know, they start establishing this brand, like we're breaking away from this old shit. We're giving it to you live, raw, and uncut. There's no more cheating in the meeting. You know, everything's based on truth and all that, and we're serving it to you. But again,
meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's
right,
just,
exactly.
They just took a costume off, put a different costume on, and that's all it is.
Basically.
It's the same shit. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just like, nah, it's just too many things happening around the same time, and then Tucker Carlson, with the audience that he has, being the most high-profile break from the old guard. You know, it's like there's just too much there for me to be like, oh hell yeah, Tucker Carlson, I'm with this new shit. Same with James O'Keefe. Same with fucking Steven Crowder. Same with all these motherfuckers who are around. Again, the same time they want to reestablish themselves as this new order, and it's all flowing into the election. So I got to ask myself, why? Why? How come you didn't do this last year? What all of a sudden got you in this mode to where, you know, we got this new thing going in Conservative Inc. And it, like I said, again, it just centered mostly around Conservative Inc. You got the purchase of Twitter, you know, this red pill coming into Twitter now.
Elon's another one. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's all just, it all happened at the beginning of this year. It's like, nah, this is too convenient. And like I was telling HJ earlier, one of them presidents said that similarity in the details is evidence of a guiding hand. You know, so and like I said, Tucker, he just, and then when, like I pointed out in that video, like he everything he said in that video with Nikki Haley was the truth, right? It was all the truth. Yeah, the Biden administration had something to do with that goddamn pipeline. Yes, there's a lot of weird shit that goes on with the Biden administration. Yes, all that is true. But then why would you frame the destruction of that pipeline as Biden administration trying to fuck over Europe?
Western Europe too. Western Europe. No, not Western Eastern Europe. Not Eastern Europe, but Western Europe. Like it's very specific to like exclude Russia from that so that it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's only our allies in Western Europe because we're at a war, NATO versus Russia. Come on now, get with it, people.
Exactly. And then look, there was a key word he used in there. Because again, I told you his base is Christian conservatives. There's a key word he used in there when describing that. He said, "Well, this is a great sin."
Sin, yeah.
So he'll pluck at those strings in order to gain their attention. That ain't no goddamn sin. That's a tactic. It's a wartime tactic.
It's a bunch of gangsters doing gangster shit to each other. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I do think you're onto something because it kind of feeds into my opinion as well. I've said, and we had a show on it probably about a month and a half ago about the backlash coming from the right. And I've said for some time that the powers that should not be, they don't want to see an uprising on the left. They do not want, and people are being, well, what about this? Yeah, but they did stupid shit in their uprising that didn't gonna ever work. You know, it just not. But I've always said that what they're trying to do is provoke the right, and they're doing the reason that they're doing all this rainbow stuff is to piss off the right. Whether you agree with it or not doesn't matter. They're doing it to piss off the right. They're economically destroying things because the right will come in and save the day. They're talking about taking guns because the right will come in and save the day. And again, I think that they are trying to get the right to rise up, because with the left, when you have an authoritarian power, if it's a leftist authoritarian power, such as i.e. communism or socialism, there is an expectation by the populace to get free shit. Whereas on the right, that expectation isn't there. So they can run it like Hitler and just fucking do whatever the fuck they want. And people not expect to get food. And yes, people are going to say Hitler's a socialist and I get it. But my point is that Hitler didn't have to provide a bunch of shit for his people for them to accept his statism. And I think on the left, that's a requirement by the people, and they'll cause more problems than they will if they do it on the right. So I think that you're right about that. It feeds right into what I've been saying for years.
Oh yeah, look, the right is more effective at kicking ass. Period. Right-leaning regimes are far more effective at kicking ass. Left-leaning regimes, they kind of coast in on "we care for you" type shit. You know what I mean? The right coast in on "we know what's good for you" type shit.
Right.
And they're the authoritarians, they're the disciplinarians. That's their side of the equation. The left is more like women. You know, the right is more like the father, the man. You know what I mean? So that's what I've always seen it as. Like, you know, they drove the left buck ass crazy as far as the populace. They drove them crazy to such a degree that you see what we have now. You know, and I think that mainly it had been going on for some time, that push, but it really kicked into overdrive when Obama got elected, because everybody rode this high of hope and change, and this new way of feeling and thinking is coming in based on what this man was selling them. But then when he got there and was there for a little while, everybody was like, well, goddamn, ain't shit changed. And that set in, that made people a little bitter on his side of the aisle, that made them a little bitter. And all they had to do at that point was basically channel that bitterness wherever the fuck they wanted it to go. You know what I mean? So they said, this is the problem. It started, with the Black Lives Matter, that's the problem. Then with the Me Too movement, the patriarchy's the problem. And when you keep fanning those flames, that bitterness that set in because those people understood on some level that they were lied to, now they got to find a villain. And they were very good at casting who that villain was. Once you get that shit to a fever pitch, like you see now on the left, then the next piece of the puzzle is to do the same with the right. So once everybody is just angry, bitter, mad, and looking for fucking change and looking for some type of different way, they'll just aim them motherfuckers at each other, kind of like at an election, and just let the chips fall where they may. And now they have an excuse to come in there, make this law, restrict this right, and on and on and on. And that's what the whole play was. But truth be told, I am on record as saying that Donald Trump is one of the key players in all that. So,
I agree.
Yeah. So let's go into these presidential candidates. We're going to save Trump for last. Let's start with everybody's new favorite hero, Vivek Ramaswamy. How in love are you with the man who says everything that conservatives and libertarians want to hear?
Nah, Vivek is on some other shit. Vivek is, a lot of what he's doing is grifting for himself. Granted, he's trying to get the bag, he's trying to get the book deals, he's trying to get all that other shit. But Vivek has been a part of the problem for some time now in that pharmaceutical industry, an industry that we just now are seeing is coming to the forefront as one of the biggest snake in the grass industries there is. He's had,
and the left told us about that long time ago.
Exactly. The left has been on that, but that was the sensible left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
now the left wants you to get that shit injected into you every 6 weeks.
Right. It's almost like there's one spirit that consumes everybody, whether they're on the left or the right, and albeit they're talking different talking points, but that same spirit is manifesting in both sides and driving motherfuckers plumb loco. You know what I mean? And Vivek, he's just another piece of that fucking equation. He ain't no hella main motherfucking player, because right now he's basically auditioning for a goddamn cabinet position. But I believe Vivek is such a unscrupulous motherfucker that when whatever cabinet position he gets, he will do exactly what the fuck he's told by way of fucking over the people. Because that's the next administration, or the next administration or two will be on some fuck over the people type shit. They need soulless motherfuckers like Vivek at play. And that's why he's coming to the forefront now. He comes from a culture that represents the caste system. So already he's on some other shit. And you could tell in the way he talks about people that he considers under him, you know what I mean? Or less than. It comes off as very elitist. And I look at that dude and I see in that dude a problem who wouldn't have no problems signing into law where, again, like he's saying, you can't vote. Now you're going to put some restrictions on it. You can't vote at this age, or you can't vote for these reasons. But what you're basically doing is you're taking people's civil rights. You know what I mean? And you're putting a caveat on it to make it more palatable to the people You know what I mean? And he's one of those guys. So Vivek, he ain't the devil, but he damn sure in league with him.
He reminds me. I call him. He's Indian Obama. He's like he's got all the
exactly.
He's a post turtle. Like I don't know how he got up there, but he's up there. He's sitting up there. I don't know how he got up there. He came from out of nowhere, but damn, he's powerful, and damn, he knows how to say all the right things in exactly the right way to convince people of some shit.
Yeah, he's just not as good at it. He's not as good at it.
He's not, because he's gotten his ass in a sling a couple of times.
Yeah. He especially is on Sonny's bad side.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
that's a place I never want to be.
No,
to be clear,
right. You don't want to be there.
So Ron DeSantis, where we
Ron DeSantis?
Yeah,
man, Ron DeSantis. See, I mean, I personally believe Ron DeSantis is going to be president.
Really,
I believe Ron DeSantis is going to be the dude that they all said Trump was. You know what I mean? And he's going to do it in the name of fighting for Trump, because I believe between now and election, he's going to be screwed out of that chance to be in that office. Screwed out of that chance of being in that office.
You think he'll take the VP position?
Huh?
Do you think he'll take the VP position?
Who?
Well, I think he's saying DeSantis is going to be the top of the ticket because they're going to fake screw Trump out of it, and it's going to be the way that they enrage everybody and mobilize the base.
That's more than the thing.
Once they screw Trump, exactly. Once they screw Trump out of that second chance, imagine how fucking pissed off the MAGAs are going to be at that point. Imagine what they're going to be willing to do at that point. And then here comes DeSantis. I'll handle it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to enact these laws. We're going to enact these rules. And all those things are going to be pushing us further and further into a motherfucking Nazi Germany type situation. You know what I mean? This dude is probably, he could very well likely just be a more sane Hitler in the cut, waiting.
Well, you do know that he was a JAG officer at Guantanamo Bay.
I do know that. You know, his history, his background is, and so it's just one of them things like, they say that Trump's base won't vote for him, but they will if Trump gets screwed. And he becomes the motherfucking
the lightning rod for that.
He becomes the fucking dude who's I'm gonna fix it all.
Yeah,
you know. So and you,
how many never Trumpers were there who said like when they were never going to vote for Trump, and somehow he beat Hillary Clinton in 2016, in spite of all the people who said that there's no way they were voting for Trump when he got the nomination.
There's no way I'm voting for Trump.
Well, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like hardcore. I'm talking about hardcore Republicans who were like, no, it's not Trump. It's got to be either, I don't know, like Rick Santorum and like all the people who they were trying to get, Jeb Bush even, like all those guys. Those people were like, no, ain't no way I'm voting for Trump. No way. Then they were like, all right, look, it's either him or Hillary. Trump. You know what I mean? So like, you think those people are really gonna be like, nah, I'm not going to vote, or I'm pulling the lever for Biden because DeSantis? No, hell no. Those people are gonna vote for DeSantis.
Exactly. And it's just one of them things where it's all set up. It's all set up for the fucking picking. Everyone's set up for the picking. Listen, if you really think about it, from day one, everything they threw at Trump's feet, everything they said that this dude was guilty of, they said it first and foremost in the media, and they said it to shit that was so clear-cut false, from the very fine people on both sides all the way up to these fucking indictments. All of it is so clear-cut false that at some point you're not really doing yourself any favors if you don't ask, wait a minute, are they working with this man? Are they building the Trump image in this direction for a reason? You know what I mean? because none of it's going to stick. None of it's going to fuck him over. None of it's going to cost him any money. He will remain a billionaire. He will remain powerful. He will remain exactly where he's at. And if anything, it's all helped to build his profile.
It's a great fundraiser.
Exactly.
Like,
it's just like some of the shit was just so borderline ridiculous. It's like, nah, it seems like you're making this shit up to help this motherfucker. It's basically like they used everything positive to get Obama in office, and they used the same amount of bullshit, but on the negative end to get Trump in office. You know what I mean?
You saw all the shit with the no jumper people, right? Like with Adam 22 and his wife and they're like that was all, they were working together.
Yeah, exactly.
to promote that shit and make money.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care about money that much. But apparently they do. So whatever.
Hey,
well, I'm sorry, Nicco. What were you saying?
No, I just said no publicity is bad publicity. Like, you gotta think as a president running, I don't give a fuck if you like me. There's people who don't like me who will still, damn it, well, it's better than this choice. There's a lot of people that you can hook on the snag and be like, I don't care if you don't like my views, but you like some of my policies. So like that they just need one or two good hooks. Then they have a whole boat of fish.
Yeah. And then think of all the people that you can win over when, like I said, you are throwing a bunch of bullshit at this dude that just the average fucking, basically, I guess, middle of the road person or independent voters, they're seeing it now. And now you're winning them over to his side by making him a martyr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just one of them things where it's like, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, is this the play? There's really nothing wrong with thinking along those lines. You know what I mean? Because if it's not the case, nothing bad comes of it. But if it is the case, you were at least prepared enough mentally to see shit coming. You know what I mean? So it's just one of them things. Like, and there's too many people who are just willing to fall into the cult, no matter who it's for. DeSantis, Trump, Vivek, whoever it is, no matter who it's for. There's too many people who are just willing to follow blindly.
Agreed. So I want to get your take, because we're running out of time, but I want to get your take on 3 candidates that are less likely to get the actual the nod from anybody, or to get the office. But I want to bring them, and that is RFK Jr. I want to get your opinion on him. I want to get your opinion. I want to get your opinion on Dave Smith, and I want to get your opinion on Spike Cohen, if you know who those last two are. What do you think of those 3?
I'm not too familiar with Spike Cohen. I know a little bit about Dave Smith. He's an interesting dude. That whole Mises Caucus thing is an interesting experiment. I mean, I don't know their motivations.
Oh,
no. Did his phone die? I think his phone might have died. Because he was on his phone. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, my phone's getting ready to die, I think.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up quickly then.
They have a lot by way of getting a groundswell of this libertarian mindset with the Mises Caucus and stuff. So I kind of respect what Dave Smith is doing by way of being a disruptor. I think that if his motivations are really to win this thing, then I think he'd be probably better served doing something else. You know what I mean? Because there's just no way you do that without the financial backing of those 2 parties.
Agreed.
So, there's that as far as Dave Smith. As far as
RFK.
No.
RFK, Kennedy.
No.
He's not going to get elected.
No, he's not going to get elected. And
I don't think it would be good if he did get elected either.
Right. Same.
I think RFK is there to muddy the water. I think he's there to muddy the waters. I think he's there to confuse and confound people like us, but who aren't really paying that close of attention, who ain't
You saw the little video that leaked out a couple of days ago of him talking about you and Jabari's people, right?
Right. I think. See,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa.
Okay. I believe this is all contrived. I'm not really going to touch that whole thing.
Yeah, I feel you.
That ties into a lot of my.
Damn.
See, the government trying to get in on
this.
It's trying to get down on the point.
As soon as we mentioned Jabari's people, there it happened.
Yeah, that ties into a lot of what I believe, but whatever. Anyway, but I think it's all contrived. I think it's all staged. You know what I mean? And I have very specific reasons why, but I just, again, I'm not going to go into that here.
Yeah.
If you do want to fucking know my take on that, though, I let that shit fly on Twitter all day. So just follow me there. You'll be able to see it there. Because I don't give two shits about that account at the end of the day. I'm just there to fucking say what I believe is the truth. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
If they blow it up, they blow it up. Fuck it.
Are you coming to Hotep Con?
Not this year, but I'm gonna make plans for it next year.
All right,
for sure next year.
We could maybe get that from you on the low at Hotep Con behind closed doors or whatever. So one real quick thing before we go out, because you know, Kamala and Biden is another thing I wanted to. Well, maybe not before you go.
I think we need to let him go.
Yeah, maybe we need to let him go. The phone is like tapping out big time.
Shouts out to all the supporters. Sorry to cut in, but we finally made 1K. Shouts out to y'all. Shouts out to the love and the people that keep us thriving and grinding and grooving and moving.
And we appreciate you. And it's amazing how we got to 1,000, right? You know, because YouTube changed their rules.
But listen, I just want to say, like, we were talking about the Kennedys and Jabari and Goldstein's people, and somebody sniped him. I saw, you know, I hope he's okay. I'm gonna hit him up later, make sure he's all right, make sure he survives this interview. I think he did. I think that was just his phone that died. But what I was gonna say is, it's interesting the stuff he was saying about like Trump and how, like, you know, they might be helping him to get that sort of martyrdom or whatever. So think about this. What did Kamala say in the vice presidential debate about the VAX?
Oh yeah, she wouldn't do it.
She said, I'm not going to get it if Trump says to get it. It's the same shit, and Trump did say to get it, but as soon as she and Joe took over, now everybody has to get it.
Right.
So it makes me think, maybe they did the little okey doke on it to where, like, they got the people on the right to be like, no, man, Trump says it's good. I'm getting it. It's good. And then they got the people on the left saying, we don't even remember that they said that.
Right.
I know that Joe and Kamala got it, and they said to get it, so we're going to get it, and you're killing everybody if you don't get it.
And I like grapes because I'm special.
It's amazing how they create this synthesis, and it all just kind of, you know, like what he was saying, that it's really good. Like when the details start to line up,
I like that too.
It's a sign of a hidden hand.
Yeah,
because
I like that too.
And that's like, look, we've been talking about this for how long, about like that there's some demonic influences, there's some other negative energy, whatever you want to call it, influences out there that they all have the same motivation. Just like God and creation has a motivation and a thread running through it, the entities that seek to destroy that,
the devil,
they have the same kind of, you know, similar motivation and threads, and so their shit's gonna rhyme too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Nature rhymes, our human experience rhymes. Well, so does all the evil shit. All the evil shit rhymes too.
Amen. So,
shouts to Hotep Goldstein for coming out tonight. This was fun
for sure. And it sucks that his phone died there at the end. But hey, you know what? That was a wonderful show. You guys have anything else you want to say before we head out, Nicco?
Love, appreciation. You know, shouts out to Goldstein helping us get to that 1,000. Anybody else could have, but you know, shouts out to him. It was a pleasure to have him on this episode while we've reached this the staple. Now, if we get zapped, follow us on Rumble. Don't be scared. Go ahead. It's just a few more letters that you are less.
Yeah, just go over to Rumble. Yeah.
You know,
Hey, and I found out you can get Rumble on your TV. I found out I can get it on my Roku TV. That means that I have far less use for YouTube.
For YouTube, now you can just search stuff up on Rumble now.
Right, I sit my fat ass in my chair and do it on Rumble.
What'd you say, Nicco?
No, shout out to these beautiful faced gentlemen up above me and this young lad right here.
Yep.
Now, are you talking about us?
I
I was looking up there. I was seeing who was up above us.
Take the compliment, man.
Oh shoot! Man. No, this is good. Hey, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so we'll talk about next week. If I do it, I'll maybe doing it from on vacation, but I may have to let you gentlemen
podcast us from the beach. Show us the white sand.
Hey, I'm not gonna be at the beach. We're going to Tennessee. We're going to the mountains.
Let us know, man.
Oh, okay, well, throw us up in the mountain pig. Landscape the picture. You feel me?
We'll see.
Just for fun. I'm not going on vacation.
Enjoy the time with the fam. Enjoy the time with the fam. Give them hugs
for sure
from Aquarian Anarchy and the people from the Bay.
No doubt.
Amen, brother. And it's not really a vacation, but we're going to see our in-laws in West Virginia this weekend. So we're doing a little bit of traveling.
I won't be far from West Virginia. We're supposed to go to a spot where you can see like 7 states or something like that. It's like right in the corner of Tennessee where you can see like, is it West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. I think that's everything. I don't know. Maybe there's another one in there.
Neat.
Yeah. So
cool.
Maybe I'll wave to
you. Have fun, man. Yeah. I'll wave. Are you going to be there Saturday?
We're going to be there I'm going to be gone through the 28th. So
cool. So I'll wave in that general direction
on Saturday. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Wave towards Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, man. Peace. I love y'all. It's been good.
Stay free.
Yes, indeed. Stay free. Peace, y'all.